Not the Footy Show.
Forward sizzle.
It's woeful, mate. You know what they should do? The NRL should go back to 16 teams. Just drop the Tigers. Cut up.
That's not happening according to old PVL. Part-time Volandis wants to add 20 teams now.
They're going the other way.
G'day everybody, welcome to episode 283 of Not the Footy Show. I'm Warrick, Nicolson. You've got Robb Cox kicking back, relaxing after his favourite second team, the West Tigers, started the year like a house on fire with another loss. Coxsmith, what happened to the Tigers on Sunday?
Quite literally, mate. That was the worst performance that I've seen from an NRL team, possibly ever. Seriously.
So bad. It was so bad.
Possibly ever. I would say that the top four teams in the New South Wales Cup would beat them, as they are at the moment, quite convincingly. That's what I think.
It was so cool.
They were woeful, mate. The woeful West Tigers.
Back-to-back games.
No execution.
At Leichhardt, and they lose both. Against... who they play the first week? Titans. And then they play, did they lose to yesterday? Knights. Like, seriously, you can't ask for a better start to your year. You only play 3 games at Leichhardt all year, get 2 of them to open the season, and you get 0-2. Oh, we both had them in 12th, mate.
I predicted the Titans. I predicted the Titans to get wooden spoon, and I predicted the Knights to get second last, and they've both been and they've both beaten the Tigers in the opening rounds. There's no way in the world the Tigers will not get the spoon this year, mate. Unless someone there, whether it be Benji or Robbie or Tim or Justin or somebody, can turn it around. They're a basket case.
It just
they've got zero execution.
Oh, it's terrible.
Okay, they don't have a football brain amongst them, to be honest with you. Apart from Appy, probably, but even
Appy yesterday was disappointing. He didn't take over when he should have.
The halfback's not a halfback. The 5'8's not a 5'8.
5'8 shouldn't be seen near the spine. He should not be seen in any of those 4 positions.
He's probably closer to being a fullback than a half, because he's probably an okay centre. But mate,
we've been banging on that tree for.
I don't want to kick players too much, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to kick players too much. I don't get any fun out of kicking blokes that are better at something than I ever was. But but the Tigers are a basket case, mate. I just don't know. I said to my mate today, I said, I probably said it to you too, they should just napalm the place and start again, because cleaning out the place isn't good enough. It's woeful, mate. You know what they should do? The NRL should go back to 16 teams. Just drop the Tigers. Cut up.
That's not happening according to old PVL. Part-time Volandis wants to add 20 teams now.
They're going the other way.
Oh, seriously. He's the king at reading the temperature in the room, isn't he? Old PVL. There mustn't be a race meet this weekend, so he's back in rugby league mode.
You know what, though? From that game, what was something we exclusively predicted would happen to the Knights?
Oh.
And it happened.
Well, K Ponga wouldn't last long defending in the line. Seriously. I had this chat with my flatmate, and it was
less than 2 minutes.
What do you think happened in the off-season? Was it Kalen Ponga just, laying down the law saying, I've just re-signed, I want to play on the line, I want to play 6, give me the job, and if you don't, O'Brien, you're gone? Or was it O'Brien super coaching, thinking, I'll just change the whole way we play, look at his hands in the ball more, and he might have to make a few tackles? Which way do you think it was? Do you think it was Ponga saying that it was my way or the highway, or was it an O'Brien masterstroke? Because there's no reason to move him from the fullback. I still don't understand it.
No, I don't know which way it went, and I don't really care. But
thanks for playing.
Whoever made the decision was dreadfully wrong, and the decision that should never have happened. Trust me, I actually said to you, I do remember saying this, that he will play fullback again this year, and I believed that he would play fullback before the first Origin rolled around. I think that's what I said. I was way wrong. He's going to be playing fullback in round 4.
Yeah.
He's not going to play in 5.
He'll have a week off. He'll have a week off and he's back to fullback. So, Lockie Miller, I hope you enjoyed your 2 weeks at fullback, buddy. And he looks good, but you got to have Ponga at 1. It's just the way it is. Tigers quickly.
Well,
we were talking about Dewey, and that was for the man we were talking about before, about the 5'8". Got a theory for you, Coxsmith, because you know I'm a big exponent of him playing in the centres. If Benji and Tim Sheens thinks that Asu Kapoa is a second rower, why not Adam Dewey? Big enough. Just put him out on the edge. You're going to convert a centre into a second rower, like a winger in Kapoa, then make Dewey your second rower. Seriously.
You know why? You know why they won't? Because remember last year he said he'd rather play New South Wales Cup than go and play centre, I believe.
What a team, man. Did you see the moment? And I will get off in a sec, guys, but the Tigers, there's a couple of things out of the game, but there was one moment he knocked on, they were 10 metres out, 20 metres out. He got up and played the ball incorrectly. Apparently got a cramp, goes to ground like he's been shot, and then he got sledged by Tyson Gamble. Jumped straight back up. Where'd the cramp go? Like,
it's like it's just like he didn't say those words. It's just like he didn't say those words to Grant Atkins. In the World Cup. Of course he did.
Good news, Tigers fans.
Mate. There's just so much BS floating around.
There's 22 rounds to go, so I like to think that at some stage you'll have at least 2 wins on the season. The decision that just baffled me, and it summed up the Tigers yesterday, is that Jacob Safidi gets sent off. Jake Simpkins on the ground for 5 minutes. Apparently he's okay, which is fantastic. They got a penalty right in front of the post. There's 14 minutes to go in the game. Newcastle are down to 12 men. They're down by 8. And what do the Tigers do after 5 minutes of deliberation? Back their amazing try-scoring ability and go for the try instead of taking 2 points and getting within 1 try. That was just insanity. Just pure and utter insanity. You would have been doing handstands if you were the Knights, but they did that.
They did exactly what the Knights wanted them to do. They took the quick tap. Well played, guys. Whoever came up with that, again, you're a genius.
It's insane.
I just hope the call didn't come from the sideline. That's it.
Well, that's the killer, and we discussed it so is that there was 5 minutes to make that decision, and they somehow rested on, let's just bash it up through the forwards. It's just, anyway. Off the Tigers, congratulations, Newcastle. That reminds me of a win they had a draw they had with Penrith about 3 years ago. I think it was during the year before COVID or the year of COVID in 2020 where they drew, I think 16 or something, and they somehow found a way to hold on to a good team. But this week they were playing a very ordinary one. Tigers, mate, just issues. We covered off the Panthers Rabbitohs with that review after the game on Thursday night. There's some other matches that we need to touch on. I'm not going to go to the negative. I think we need to go to some positive just immediately, and that is the Canterbury-Bankstown Bulldogs turning the ship right around, going down to Melbourne. Yes, Melbourne didn't put the best team on the park, but that's not generally been Melbourne's problem. Melbourne's attitude is usually pretty good, playing at home, in front of their fans. And 15 minutes, it was a here, there, both teams going well, and then the Bulldogs turned on the football, not the grind, the football, and they blew Melbourne away. And Craig Bellamy in the press conference is a stunned mullet. He doesn't know what's going on. Kudos Cameron Ciraldo. Kudos Reid Marnie, who's just a gun. Kudos the whole way Canterbury played. That was an outstanding performance, Coxsmith.
Mate, Melbourne missed 30 tackles in the first half. Melbourne don't normally miss 30 tackles in 10 games.
Yeah.
Like they certainly didn't put their best team on the field, or they weren't able to. So that was a factor for sure. But to go to Melbourne and beat Melbourne at Amy Park at night, all I can say is great job. Great job, Bulldogs. And you guys are going a whole lot better than the Tigers, I'll tell you now.
And they get to play each other this week. Good luck, West Tigers. I just look at the way Canterbury played and go, that's an impressive coaching job to keep your team up after a bad loss the week before against Manly, where they didn't look on the same level as a team that missed the finals last year in Manly. And to go down there, the stats, they can tell you whatever you like. You said 30 tackles missed in the first half. The final tackle count, according to NRL.com, was 49 missed tackles for Melbourne, 36 for Canterbury. But if you want the real stat of the game, Canterbury made more tackles than Melbourne. They won 26-12.
Yep.
Interesting.
Because they were made to defend a lot in that first half. Yeah.
Correct. And they turned that around. Jacob Kiraz, wow. Just fantastic. And I sat there, and what's impressed me the most, and this is not the hallmark of the T. Barrett era or even the Dean Pay era, they use their edges so well. How well did Alamotti and Averillo do in setting up their wingers to score tries? Like, that's a skill, and you can only work on that skill when you actually give your centres the ball. So, Bulldogs, not going to spend heaps of time because we're going to spend a lot on podcasts, but wow, just fantastic. And Jacob Preston, there's a player there. Melbourne, they do lose a game early in the year. Who knew that could happen? And they go down 26-12. We've got to get on to the other two big names in rugby league. The 2-0 Broncos, the 2-0 Dolphins. Uncle Benny, we apologise. Terribly wrong. What's going on? How are Brisbane 2-0 and how are the Dolphins? Oh, sorry, Redcliffe 2-0. How's it happened? What's happened? Is there money under the table? What's going on?
Wow. I don't know. The Broncos have come out of the gate. I mean, we had Kevy maybe going to get fired this year. I don't think he is. I think he's going to last the year at the very least. They may give him another 3-year contract depending on how the back end of the year goes. But all I can say about the Broncos is they look like a team that's 4 or 5 yards faster than they were last year. They look like a team that are playing for their coach, and they believe in each other. I mean, and that's what you need in a football team. The Dolphins, I think Benny's done the Jedi mind trick again, mate. He's put together a team that most people look at and go, "Oh wow, what a bunch of old blokes." And maybe this is where Griffin gets his ideas from Benny. They did work together, didn't they? Quite closely somewhere along the lines.
Yep.
They do sound the same.
But same voice tone.
Mate,
yep.
Benny's doing the business, mate. And who knows how long the winning streak will go on for, but the Dolphins are going all right. They're
Dolphins have got the Knights in Newcastle next week, Coxsmith.
They're going to pump the Knights, I reckon.
Wow.
We'll see. It's hard to pick, isn't it? So hard to pick.
I'm 7 from 16. I'm going tremendous for the season so far. Reece Walsh, heck of a debut for your team that you were with that you decided you didn't want to play for because they wouldn't pay you money because you weren't playing first grade. Comes back and he put them away in the end, the Cowboys, who I thought were a little bit disappointing. I think they were very good against Canberra and they've played poorly and now they've lost Drinkwater for 3 weeks. They've lost Hiku for 2. And the Cowboys take on the Warriors, who haven't been too bad in the first 2 games. So very interesting. Dolphins, look, there's some moments in that game, and I'll get shift to Canberra in a second, but I want to just get my head around how the Tom Gilbert try was a try, because he clearly put his hands on Tomoko and pushed him out of the way to get to the ball. The only thing I could think of is why, and this is the bunker doing wonderful things in how they interpret things now, but the only reason I could think they gave a try is because Tomoko wasn't going for the ball. He made no effort to actually go for the ball. But Gilbert clearly puts his hands on him and pushes him out of the way, then jumps on it. I'm sitting there going, look, we're butchered our chances anyway.
That's probably the only... Yeah.
Sorry.
That's got to be the only reason it wasn't a no try, mate. Because this line is very laggy too, by the way. Very laggy. That's got to be the only reason, because Tomoko wasn't really making much of an effort. He was more just trying to impede the runner more than anything. So they probably thought, well, you're not having a go, mate. So,
but
whatever.
Is that out of this precedent? If as long as you're not going for the ball, you can push anybody out of the way? Is that the rule?
Well, this goes back to what we talked about before. How do you know any player's intent?
Yeah.
He could have had a twinged hammy and maybe not been able to run.
Well, Utakamannu's try yesterday. He clearly promoted the ball. He knew what he was doing. His intent was to promote the ball. And because he landed in the in goal after the fact, they say it's a try. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
It's a double movement any day of any
Mind
week.
readers,
Anyway,
mate.
these things happen. They're on fire, the old referees. They're doing some tremendous work. So we've got an interesting table, Coxsmith, and there's a few other games we'll just quickly touch on. But the bye, it's worth 2 points again. So realistically, the top of the table is Manly at 1-0 and 4 points. The Dolphins 2-0 and 4 points. The Dragons 1-0 and 4 points, and the Broncos 2-0 and 4 points. By the end of the year, you're going to have 6 bonus points. You're going to look like you've had a tremendous year this year versus last year because you can get 6 bonus points instead of 4. Why they do this is just beyond me. I don't understand the value of giving points beyond it looks better at the end of the year with your point totals. And an argument is then the competition's got better parity because look at all the points your team had this year versus last year. It's the only reason I can think they do it. Because we never used to do, when it was the bye back in the 80s and stuff, they never used to give points. So
I've no idea why they're doing it, mate, but there'll be a reason.
The other game that was played that we probably need to reflect on is Cronulla sending Parramatta to 0-2. What's going on with Brad Arthur's use of his rotation on the bench or lack of rotation? Because he is going all eggs in that starting team basket, and they've basically been run down in both matches after looking like not good things, but they had both games sort of in hand to a degree.
He's done this before. We've seen him do this before. We've seen him use only two replacements. Left 2 blokes sitting on the bench there last year a couple of times. I have no idea why he's doing it. Whether he's trying to get more miles into the starting, or his strongest 13's legs. But I'm more than sure that the whole ongoing Mitchell Moses thing is not helping them. We thought a few weeks ago that he'd made a decision. But I think, that was just a smokescreen. But yeah, we also did exclusively say in the off-season that Parramatta's window was almost jammed shut for a grand final. I believe that even more now. They're still missing a couple of players, and at some stage in the future, Wanga Blake might learn how to defend. But I'm
survey says no. He hasn't. The penny hasn't dropped after 7 or 8 years in first grade.
Do you remember last year? I don't know who it was. Who was the team that just bombed them and kept bombing Wanga? Was it Penrith? They kept bombing him.
They knew what they were doing. Yeah, I think it was Penrith.
And they knew his defence was dodgy then. They knew that his ability to catch a high ball was dodgy. I wonder when his contract's up, but I don't think it can come soon enough for Coach Arthur. I'd be inclined to put Jake at centre. I'd be inclined to put someone else there, Jake Arthur maybe, or whoever. But something needs to happen. Who are they playing this week, Parramatta?
Parramatta are up against, let me just scroll down to the bottom of the ladder to find out who they're playing. Scrolling down. Oh, past Raiders. Somehow we're ahead of them. It's Parramatta and Manly on Thursday night at Brookie.
At Brookie, Manly should do their business there, given what we've seen of Manly.
Just quickly on Canberra.
They'll be hard a bit.
Ricky is going to Ricky. Seb Chris isn't a fullback. Got exposed again in defence. Doesn't support the ball carrier. He does not support the ball carrier. He doesn't even know what that term means. And it's hurting us when we're playing safe football up the middle. I don't understand why you'd pick a guy who doesn't support the ball carrier when you're not going to play attractive football. We wasted a heck of a lot of chances against the Dolphins, and I got no issues with us getting run down. So the ladder after round 2, Seagulls, Dolphins, Dragons, Broncos on 4 points. A couple of Phantom 4 points in there. Panthers, Rabbitohs, Warriors, Titans, Roosters, Sharks, Knights, Storm, Cowboys, Bulldogs on 2, and then the winless teams are the Raiders, Eels, and Tigers. I want to wrap the show, I'm not a long one here, but I want to wrap the show looking at the Roosters, mate. I didn't see the game on Saturday afternoon because I was playing cricket, and what I've heard across a number of people is it was an extremely poor game of football, and the Roosters seem to be in a bit of... what's the word? It's expecting it to happen was the word, that the term I heard from someone. And the news just dropped earlier that Buzz is claiming that James Tedesco has re-signed for 2 more years. He'll be there at the end of 2025. I saw a highlight. That's the report, according to Twitter. Suoli'i breaks the line. Teddy's racing up in support. There is the only play in the history of mankind is pass to Teddy. Suoli'i didn't pass to Teddy. Suoli'i ended up scoring because he had to break 2 more tackles. But does Jason Suoli'i stay at the Roosters if Teddy's just re-signed for 2 years? Because I don't see it happening.
Well, I suggest maybe not. If that's true, if he signed for 2 more years,
that's the story.
Till the end of 25, Suoli will get paid a lot of money from someone.
Yes.
He even already he's nudging $1 million a season.
Yep.
And he's not going to get that at the Roosters. So maybe he does. Maybe he looks for another place to go, and I expect that there'd be probably a conga line of clubs lined up to have him.
Does he stay in the NRL, Coxsmith? That's I guess that's where I'm going with this, because
it'll come down to money, mate. That's going to come down to cash.
Yeah.
Who's got the most cash?
Who's got the most cash for him?
That's what's going to come down to.
If you are an NRL club and you're even remotely concerned that your fullback's not up to it, make some cap space. Get on the phone to Suoli's manager and say, come to the Moolah, because I reckon it's a golden opportunity. I'm not saying that the back of pass
there's
earlier.
A few of them.
Yeah, true. Just to be clear, I'm not insinuating that he didn't pass to him because
he
doesn't want to play. He wants to play fullback. I'm just saying it was an interesting timing that 2 days later, Teddy re-signs as the chosen one of Uncle Nick. Interesting.
Well, put it this way. Just think, who would you rather have, Mitchell Moses or Suoli? Think about that. Parramatta, who would you rather have? Because Gutho can play centre.
You've
got $1 million to spend. You've got $1 million to spend.
Yeah.
You could probably play him at 6 if you wanted to, but they need a centre too. They need a centre. A centre that can tackle. So, there's clubs like that. There's probably 5 clubs out there that are pondering these things. So we re-sign our halfback or our hooker or our 6 or our 1. What do we do here? And then Suoli comes on the market and creates, a problem, or not a problem, but a nice problem. So, whatever. It'd be good to see this one, I reckon.
Open the checkbook. Final point. Haven't even really mentioned them. The mighty Red V. I mean, what a performance.
They've won all their games. Hook's safe for another 3 weeks. Every time you win one, you're safe for 3 weeks.
I think it's a 2-year extension, isn't it? Every time you win a game at the start of the year.
I hope not.
Let's be serious for just 2 seconds. I know you sported the Titans a 10-point lead, but I'm just going to be serious. I saw some good things from you. I wasn't unenthused by your performance, mate, even if it was against the Titans.
Well, look, I watched I listened to the press conference, and when Coach Griffin said that he thought that they were on top at 12-2, I thought to myself, Griffo, you must have some serious drugs in that briefcase, because at 12-2, brother, you were not on top. I'm telling you right now. They definitely came home with a wet sail, and there was a couple of good things to see.
Yeah.
But if Coach Griffin thinks that they were on top at 12-2, maybe the club psychiatrist needs to have a talk to him.
What impressed you about the performance? Let's wrap it with this. Was there
okay? Well, yeah. Look, I really like the way Sloane played. I think. I really think that players like Josh Kerr coming off the bench made a difference. I like the look of the new kid, Toby Couchman, even though he went for an HIA.
Yeah, he wasn't shy, was he?
Yeah, I don't think there's too many. I don't think there was too many shockers in there. You know how, Saints have got the ability to have a shocker, at least a shocking player or two. I don't know. It's their first game of the season. I think they were probably a little bit too enthusiastic to begin with, but definitely the last 50 minutes was theirs. First 30 may not have been, but the last 50 was.
A couple more highlights. Blake Laurie, that was a great performance. He was outstanding, and he scored a front row try, always good, but he made an impact in the first couple of sets. He just threw his body into it, and then he just a couple of times you could see that nobody else wanted to do a hit up, and he sort of put his hand up for a second go, and it's just those things that you need from a forward leader, and he's emerging as that. I like Jack Bird at lock, but I always like Jack Bird in games like that where the opposition's not great. I think he can look really dangerous in matches like that. But look, that's what you got to do. You got to try and win those games, and he helped them win it. Ben Hunt, pretty good. Sully, all right. Lomax, bit underwhelming. Sloane warmed into it. I thought Sloane took a while to get into the game, but when he got into it, he made a difference. That's what you want to see. Didn't really think
Definitely.
Sullivan made much of an impression. He was disappointing. But Jacob Little, mate, when that forward pack got a roll in the middle, he actually made a difference.
That was probably Little's best game that I've seen play in a number of years. I mean, he's always kind of been injured at the Tigers. Sullivan, I agree with. I think that Sullivan may probably be their 14 going forward, because he can play a little bit of everywhere. Coach Griffin says that Amon is not even on his radar to come back in the team. He'll be back in by round 5.
Yep, agreed.
He will be back in the team by round 5.
It's funny how a week of football can be a long time, because last week the Titans go to Leichhardt, knock off the Tigers. Holbrook, Supercoach, what a style. They re-signed Dave Fafita. Dave Fafita phoned the game in deluxe last night. Like, honestly, it's like clockwork. He gets his new contract and, effort areas just disappear. But they looked really ordinary. And it's a funny old team, the Titans. When they look good, they look really good. And then the other end of the spectrum is just not fun to watch. That's our round 2 review, everybody.
You got to look who they look good against, though, mate. It was the Tigers, and we've now seen 2 pitiful efforts from the Tigers, and I can't see it getting any better this week coming. So I still have the Titans finished bottom 4 for sure and certain.
Yeah.
I think the big one that we're both wrong on, though, was the Tigers, and only
we both had them in 12th. You both had them in 12th.
Yeah.
I
was wrong.
Going tremendous. Quickly looking to round 3, we will probably do, if we can, it depends on where Rob's at in terms of if he's on the road or whatever, but into the
Thursday
future,
I'm cool.
If we can do something after a Thursday game, maybe that then leads into a Monday record. If we can do that, then fantastic. Just don't expect it to be multiple, like 3 or 4 a week or anything like that. Not that anybody does with our podcast. This week you got Seagulls Parramatta into Knights Dolphins, and the big one, Roosters Rabbitohs on Friday night. Then the Melbourne Storm are heading up to the Gold Coast. The Cowboys are hosting the Warriors. Broncos are taking on the Dragons. Can you believe it's a Saturday night game, Coxsmith? Would you believe after 3 rounds the Broncos are already off Channel 9? And Bulldogs Tigers into Raiders Sharks to end up the round. Hopefully it's a little bit easier to pick this week, because last week was a nightmare. But that's episode 283. Anything to add before we head out, mate?
Let's head off, mate. I've said enough.
That's pretty much.
I'm going to have Justin Pascoe on the phone.
Watch out for the napalm. All right, we'll speak to you next time on the Footy Show. I've been Warrick Nicolson. That's been Rob Cox. Talk to you next time.
Catch you later, buddy. Pepsi.
Not the Footy Show.
We are one different.
Yep. What do you got?
Canberra aren't making the finals this year.
Oh, stop it. I'm hanging up. I got to go, mate. The bars are calling me. The honky tonks are playing my tune. What are you talking about?
Not the Footy Show.
You been sleeping over there?
Pepsi.